Ethan Hayes was the kind of man people whispered about, young, powerful, a single dad who built an empire from nothing. To the world, he had everything. But at home, in his glass-walled penthouse, there was only silence, except for the laughter of his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. She was his world, but she was also lonely. And when a prestigious gala loomed on the calendar, Ethan realized he needed someone by his side, not for love, but for appearances. That's when he made the decision he'd never thought he'd make. He hired someone, a pretend date, a girlfriend, for the night. Her name was Claire. She wasn't glamorous in the Hollywood sense, but she had something else, warmth. The moment she walked into the room, Lily's eyes lit up. At the party, Claire played her role perfectly, smiling, graceful, kind. But Ethan wasn't the one most enchanted. It was Lily, who clung to Claire's hand as if she'd found something she'd been missing. Later that night, when the penthouse was quiet again, Lily whispered words that caught Ethan off guard. Tugging at his sleeve, her eyes wide with innocence, she said, "Daddy, can she stay forever?" For the first time in years, Ethan felt his heart falter. It was supposed to be an act. Just business. But in his daughter's plea, he heard something deeper, a question not about a date, but about love, family, and the missing piece they both secretly longed for. Ethan didn't know what to say. He had built his life on control, on calculated decisions, on never letting feelings interfere with business. But Lily's innocent request echoed in his mind long after she'd fallen asleep. Can she stay forever? Claire had only agreed to one night. A simple arrangement, a paycheck, a role to play. Yet, Ethan couldn't ignore how naturally she had fit into their lives, how Lily's laughter seemed brighter with her around. Even he, the guarded CEO who never let anyone in, had caught himself watching Claire. Her kindness wasn't rehearsed, it was real. The next morning, as Claire prepared to leave, Lily clutched her hand. "Please don't go yet. Can we have pancakes together?" Her tiny voice was pleading, and Ethan was stunned to see Claire hesitate. She knelt, brushing Lily's hair back gently. "Sweetheart, I was only here for the party." But then she looked at Ethan. And in that unspoken moment, he realized she was giving him a choice. For the first time, Ethan broke his own rules. "Stay," he said quietly. "At least, for breakfast." It was a small invitation, but it felt monumental. Claire smiled, and Lily squealed with delight. Around the kitchen table, with pancakes and spilled syrup, something fragile but beautiful began to take shape. What was supposed to be an act had turned into something else, a moment of belonging neither of them had expected. And for Ethan Hayes, the man who thought he had everything, it was the first time he wondered if perhaps he had been missing the most important thing all along. Days turned into weeks, and what began as a single breakfast stretched into a quiet routine. Claire would visit more often, sometimes to help Lily with school projects, sometimes just to share dinner. She never acted like a guest. She folded laundry with Lily, told bedtime stories, and even teased Ethan about his endless late-night emails. Ethan, who had once locked his emotions behind steel walls, found himself softening. Claire's presence didn't feel forced. She had a way of filling the silences that used to echo in the penthouse. Lily was happier than he had ever seen her, giggling over board games, drawing pictures of Daddy and Claire and me. But Ethan couldn't ignore reality. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed, he finally asked, "Claire, why are you really here?" His voice carried the weight of a man afraid to hope. She hesitated. "Because I care. At first, it was just a job. But Lily, she's special. And maybe you need someone who reminds you it's okay to just live, not only survive." Her words shook him. He had built his empire on surviving, on being untouchable. But now, for the first time, he wanted more than survival. He wanted warmth, laughter, family. Still, Ethan's fear lingered. He knew love came with risks, and he couldn't bear to fail his daughter again. The question haunted him, could he trust this unexpected bond, or would it all disappear like a fleeting dream? The turning point came one rainy afternoon. Ethan had been trapped in meetings all day when his phone buzzed, Claire had picked Lily up from school. A minor change in plans, yet it unsettled him. He had never allowed anyone else to share that responsibility. But when he arrived home, he froze in the doorway. Claire and Lily were sitting on the floor, building a fort out of blankets and pillows. Lily's cheeks were flushed with laughter, and Claire was wearing a paper crown. They looked up at him together, as if he was the intruder in their little kingdom. For a moment, Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. Not the kind that came from closing million-dollar deals, but the kind that came from belonging. Later, after Lily had fallen asleep in the fort, Claire whispered, "She feels safe with me. You know that, right?" Ethan nodded, but his chest ached. "I've always worried she needed more than I could give. Seeing her like this, it terrifies me. Because if you walk away, it'll break her." Claire's eyes softened. "Then maybe I won't walk away." The simplicity of her words hit him like a storm. She wasn't promising forever, but she wasn't pretending anymore either. This wasn't a role she was playing, it was real. For the first time, Ethan realized he wasn't the one in control. His daughter's heart had chosen first. And now, his own was dangerously close to following. A week later, Ethan hosted a dinner for investors at his home. Normally, such evenings were cold, calculated affairs. But with Claire there, everything was different. She moved through the room with grace, not like someone trying to impress, but like someone who genuinely cared. She noticed when Lily got restless and quietly slipped her upstairs for a story, then reappeared without missing a beat. His colleagues whispered about her, assuming she was his new partner. Ethan didn't correct them. For once, he didn't care about appearances, he cared about how natural it all felt. When the guests had left and silence returned, Ethan found Claire on the balcony, gazing at the city lights. "You fit here," he said quietly. She smiled, but there was a shadow in her eyes. "Do I? Or am I just filling a space you didn't realize was empty?" Her question cut deep. He stepped closer, his voice raw. "You're not filling a space. You're creating something new. For me, and for her." Claire's lips parted, as if to respond, but before she could, tiny footsteps pattered behind them. Lily, holding her stuffed bear, whispered sleepily, "Daddy? Can she stay forever?" The innocence of the question broke the night wide open. Claire knelt, hugging Lily tight. And Ethan, powerful, untouchable Ethan, felt his defenses crumble. For the first time, he didn't see Claire as an employee, or a companion for hire. He saw her as the missing piece his family had been searching for. Ethan didn't answer right away. He couldn't, not with his throat tight and his heart pounding. Instead, he lifted Lily into his arms and carried her back to bed. Claire followed, tucking the blanket around her gently. When Lily's breathing slowed into sleep, Ethan finally spoke. "She's asking the question I've been too afraid to." Claire met his gaze. "And what's that?" He swallowed hard. "Can you stay? Not just tonight, not just for an act, but really stay. With us." For a moment, the world seemed to pause. Claire's eyes glistened, and then she whispered, "Yes. If you'll let me." The simplicity of her answer filled the room with a quiet kind of joy. Ethan reached for her hand, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself to hope, really hope, that love could return. Months later, the penthouse didn't echo with silence anymore. It echoed with laughter, with pancakes on Sunday mornings, with forts made of pillows. Lily never asked again if Claire could stay forever, because she already knew the answer. Ethan Hayes, the man who once believed he had everything, discovered that true wealth wasn't measured in power or money. It was measured in love, in the small hand of his daughter slipping into his, and in the woman who turned their house into a home. And as he watched Claire and Lily chase each other through the living room, Ethan whispered to himself the words he'd never thought he'd say: "Forever has finally found us."